censor yourself and be your authentic self and be honest with community because that's what they need to hear. So lastly, we would like to introduce our last speaker, Dr. Bill Pink. And I don't want to get into too big of an introduction, but I heard him speak at the Grand Rapids Young Professionals of Color Conference, and I left feeling super motivated. So I'm sure you guys are going to feel the same way too. So we are excited to hear from you, Dr. Pink.
Courtney and Sarah, thank you. I'm hopeful that my connection is good. Time to time, I'm here on campus. Every once in a while, it doesn't like to cooperate. So I'm hopeful that that it will be good. I want to say to Conrad, Eric, Chris, and Marquise, thank you, brothers, for your words, and thank you for your hearts, and thank you for your honesty. Some of our with our stories, when we tell our stories, what's refreshing is when we are on this side of our story and where we are right now, realizing at the same time so many of our brothers who look like us are not at this point in that story, and they are in the midst of some of the things that you great men have talked about today, of some of those dark days, as it was said. And so keeping in mind that we are at a great place, and still a whole lot of work to do. I will, and Sarah and Courtney, thank you for the honor to be able to spend time. I'll be quick in a little bit of background. So my life in growing up in small town Texas, grew up with five kids in the house. Have 4 siblings. I'm the youngest. My mom and dad, we all 7 of us lived with my grandmother in a 2-bedroom house, and one of the bedrooms is hers. And so what that meant to us was getting to know your brothers and sisters really good. And so we grew up there in small town Texas, and in the 70s and 80s, small town Texas, you can imagine some of what we may have experienced. Our neighborhood was common to, out our front door, if you would look to the left, you had a house there that was known for drug sales. And so on Friday nights, Saturday nights, you saw it. I grew up watching that over to my left. And to my right, this house was known for alcohol sales. And at that point in our city, that was not legal. And so, but Friday night, Saturday night, you saw that. And so that meant that on a typical Friday night, Saturday night, our street was packed with cars, and none of them were coming to our house to visit. They were all going over there. And my dad was one who was a World War II veteran. And the shotgun that he had in that house was a long shotgun. And it was one of those that we wanted to make sure if I came in late at night and had to knock on the door after going to hang out with my buddies or whatever, if that barrel of that gun came out the door, you yell, "Dad, Daddy, it's me." Because you didn't ever know if that World War II shotgun was truly going to work correctly. However, growing up in that setting, what we saw, what was so good for me as the youngest of 5, growing up in that setting, in that poverty area of how we grew up, we never knew that we were in poverty because I had people in my house, my mom and dad, who my mom worked at night, my dad worked in the day, so that someone was always at the house. And I remember one time sneaking and looking at my mom's pay stub and seeing that what her pay was. And I thought, oh my goodness, my mom is rich. She's making about $190 every 2 weeks. Man, she's got a lot of money. Not really realizing and having the good concept of what that meant in raising 5 kids in a 8 person household. And so the thing about it is that what I learned growing up is that no matter what you plan, except at least in my life, the way it manifested for me, is that wherever I planned, whatever I said, this is what I want to do, whatever that was, there's always people that are willing to help you get there. Whether it be that I want to go over here and do some things I know I shouldn't be doing, I always had some buddies who were going to be willing to help me go over there and do what I wanted to do. Or for me, basketball was what got me through high school and college as far as my education and motivation. There were always people in my life who, because I said, I want to play college basketball, I want to get an education, there were always people that would help me get there as well. It was a matter of pulling upon my resources, recruiting my resources, and to have been blessed to been able to get to the place that I was able to get to, blessed to be able to figure out how to put a big orange ball into a hoop. That was a God-given blessing for me, but also people that I believe strongly that were there in case I said that's what I want to do. Those people were there to say, how do we help you get there? And so for me, when I think about that upbringing, what I say, the reason why I am blessed to be where I am and what I am doing right now at this point in my life is and it's so funny listening to Eric and Conrad and Chris and Marquise talk about, it's like we didn't even trade notes, because what I wanted to emphasize is the importance of our people paying attention to how we pull upon each other and help each other, and not be the heel biters to bring each other down. I'm just going to be frank. Sometimes we can do that to each other. That we sometimes don't like to see our brother, our brother, get up and be able to make something of him, or our sister make something of herself. That we sometimes like to grab the heels and bring them back down just because we're not up there. That's something that we have to stop in our community. That we have to see how I can push you up so that you are able to be successful in whatever that venture is you do. Because again, someone's always there to help you, no matter what direction you're going to go. And so for me, it is important that as a community college, as this community college's president, I feel like I have a tool. And I believe it's that tool of education. I have a tool that I can help deliver, that I can actually, during this, as I say, my window being open, this window of opportunity, this window of influence in a community, how can I help our people? How can I help the people of Grand Rapids? But in this case, how can I help young men and women who look like I do? How can I help give them this tool and make this tool available, accessible? And it's not just about access in terms of getting to the place, it's access to finishing at this place. And so for me, that is why being a community college president at this point where God has me, and I'm a deep believer, he has me in a place at a time for a specific purpose. And sometimes that purpose changes, and I will tell you, it morphed a bit these last 3 weeks of that purpose. But what happens is that I now have this tool that God has blessed me to be in charge of, that I can now say, how do we help in helping our people of color and others, but in this, people of color, be able to be successful in this regard? Because I believe education is a huge, huge key to what we can do for ourselves and what we can do for each other.
Wow, thank you. Again, thank you so much. Just like you said, I feel like everybody's conversations tied in together very well and hit on a lot of really important aspects. So thank you again, Dr. Pink, and thank you to Marquise, Chris, Eric, Conrad. We really appreciate it. So we're going to get into our Q&A. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to put them in the comments. If you wish for it to be anonymous, you can send it directly to our page. If you're watching via Zoom, you can add those into the Q&A as well. So hopefully you guys can see me now. But we did get a really good question that came in. And if you guys wanted to, if you wanted to jump in just a couple sentences here and there, anybody can answer. So we have someone who said, I know there's a difference between being not racist and being anti-racist.